So, hi everybody. We have an awesome panel today. It's a little bit different than usual because we've got a couple components to it. So today we are talking about at what point in your business it is time to bring on an assistant, the differences between an assistant, a transaction coordinator, a buyer's agent, maybe bringing somebody full-time, hiring an intern. There's a lot of different stuff that we're going to touch on today, but the premise of it is when you need help, getting help and where to get it and how to identify your person. So want to just go down the road and let everybody sort of introduce themselves. If you guys would just say your name, what office you're with, and how long you've been in the real estate industry. Even if you are on a team and you're a team support, just sort of say how long you've been in the industry. Jen?
I'm Jennifer Longstreet. I have been in the industry for 15 months now.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm from the South Lake office.
Sonia Leonard, licensed agent in the South Lake office. I have been licensed for 20 years.
Yeah.
Jennifer Medford, one of the two director of operations of our company. I have been licensed since 2005, but in the industry since 2003.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'm Cindy Lugo. I'm out of the Weatherford office and I've actually been licensed a whopping 2 years.
Yeah. But came out kicking, man.
Came out
Yes,
kicking.
yes.
And I've been on the fringes of real estate for a long time, but licensed for 2 years. And
my name is Vanessa Dennis and I'm transaction coordinator for Cindy Lugo.
Yep. So what's really cool about this panel is that, as you can tell, there's a wide range of experience. Some of them are real estate for life, and some of them have just gotten in, but they've all found a synergy with working together as a partnership and a team. So they're going to talk about that. Highlighting just real quick, these two are a team. These two are a team, and Jennifer is actually basically all of our team. So we get Jennifer as part of, she's basically a team member for every agent in this office, but her perspective is unique because not only does she come from an office that has a multi-line team approach prior to her RE/MAX experience, but she's also helped hire some people in along the way for teams under the cross-country side also, and supports Tracy too. So there's a lot of good stuff that's going on there. So we're gonna jump right into it. This particular panel, want to make sure that you guys get a chance to ask questions. We're going to leave room for that at the end. I've got some questions geared towards the team leads and some questions geared towards the team support roles. And then, of course, Jen, you're welcome to answer anything you want. You guys don't have to answer everything. You're welcome to if you like, and you're welcome to elaborate. So let's just dig in. Wanted to start by just talking to the team leads for a second about business. So we heard Sonia say she's been in business for a long time. If you don't know, she also coaches. So she's worked the structure of a team multiple ways in that capacity. Cindy came in like on fire and instantly needed support because of her ability to quickly generate a lot of business. So two different perspectives completely. If you ladies would mind just telling us, where in your life of real estate did you first wake up and think, I need help? It doesn't matter if you were just wondering if you should hire a transaction coordinator, but at what point? Was it a number of transactions, a volume? Talk about it.
Okay, should I start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to first of all thank Melanie for doing this. This is an awesome panel and an awesome opportunity, I think, for everybody in the company who has questions about what's next or
I'm an honorary Sonia team member. I really am.
not really honorary, actually, on my team. So this answer might not be what you might expect, but I think I started with support help. Really, it was just down to my ego. I was told after I've been in the industry for several years, if you don't have an assistant, you are one. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't want to be an assistant. I want to be realtor. So I thought, well, I need help then, even though I love doing all of the jobs. So the jobs that I would have been delegating to an assistant, actually, I didn't want to, because that would make me have more time to do the things I didn't like. You know, the lead generation, I liked the paper processing and all of that marketing, you know, and things like that. So it was a struggle for me to realize that I really needed to delegate. So over the course of the 20 years, the reason that I've hired support has been different every time. Literally, the first time I did it was because I really thought that I should. But then after realizing what that could afford me, then I started to strategically look for areas of my day that didn't really need me in it. And then I have grown through the process. So now I don't like some of the stuff that I used to thrive on. So things do change. And so that's why I would say initially, if you're deciding if you need help, just look at your day and look at what you're doing. Everyone's need to hire help is going to be different. Just depending on where you're at in your career, the amount of stuff that you have going, what you like to do. Really, the last few months when I had Jennifer start with me, we'll kind of dig into all that, I think, but I really wanted more time off. And that isn't anything I was even focusing on day one. But I have family in Australia. I want to travel there twice a year. That takes a lot out of my year to get there and do that. And so I needed a team, and that was another place I reached in terms of needing help. So it depends who you are. If you start off with a whole lot of transactions, you might be overwhelmed with paperwork. If you don't, then you might need to make more marketing efforts. So you need marketing help, but it's very individual.
I agree. What about you, Cindy?
So coming from a place of having businesses in the past, I kind of approached my needs in that respect. I said, okay, the 3 types of tasks. One, you can just tell someone to do and you know they're going to go do it well. Another one, you might have to kind of supervise a little. And another one, you might have to do it yourself. So I tried to think, all right, I know I'm going to need some help. And because she's my best friend, she was with me on the phone driving to Champions to take my classes, hearing the fear and frustration and all that. Because I didn't just take them over a long period of time. I just scheduled them and just boom, 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 took them all.
Like you do everything.
Yes. And just did it. And so I was calling her and I was like, I'm so tired. I don't think I can do this. I'm exhausted. Plus I was running a large business and her support was just so great. And she didn't know anything. I mean, look at her. She's a beauty person. And I said, hey,
But she knew you.
Yes,
And she
I
can
said-
hear your need and your
yeah, I
voice.
said, I need you desperate. So we kind of started talking, and first it was just like, okay, I'm gonna pray for you, and do you need me to do this? That kind of thing.
Which is its own level of
Right,
support.
yes, there was like another level, guys. Well, as we were going, and I got my first, yay, I got my first transaction. I said, you know what? I need you. I don't know exactly what a transaction coordinator is, but I'm gonna need you in some way. And I said, let's just start out right off the rip together from day one. So that's what we did. At the beginning, it was more like, oh my Lord, Vanessa, dear God, what am I doing? Where am I supposed to put this? Let me look at my special book, And then she started getting into the mojo, but she also took her own lead and started doing stuff.
Yep.
So for me, the realization that having the experience of having many people work for me at different times, it wasn't hard for me to say, oh yeah, heck, I need help right now. I know she can handle that, I can handle that, and then that frees me to be better at my task. I did not want to get in a situation though where I had a great transaction coordinator already. I didn't need someone that I had to depend on, like in that respect. And that is very important, I think, to bring up from the beginning. Since I hired someone immediately, I don't want anyone to think that. I said, okay, you can't be so good that I just depend on you totally and don't know my job. She's like, don't worry. And so anyway, we did that. And now that she knows a whole lot of it, it makes it so much easier. But more importantly, I trust her. So, and that's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about. I know that no matter what, it's saved 14,000 different ways in paper, big stacks, all the things, just in case.
Yep. Well, and you've come to a place, and this works both on hiring a stranger, hiring a referral, or hiring a friend. You've come to a place where you've ironed out what will happen if stuff gets rocky and all of that.
Right.
So the reason these 2 particular team leads were chosen is because of their varied differences in how they've hired their assistants, but been able to make it work. Jennifer, what do you see as the most common time when somebody hires? There's all these coaches that say, when you hit 25 transactions, you need an assistant, or when you hit this much volume, or what's your
Honestly,
view?
I just think it varies from agent to agent. There's some agent that can handle 25 transactions on their own, no problem. When they get over that, it's like, okay, now I'm busy, I need some help. Then there's some that can, maybe only handle 5 or 10 at a time. So in my experience, from what I've seen over time, it just depends on the agent and how you can handle the workload is when they decide to start hiring. and start asking, what, and it's really just based on what their need is at that particular time, or, as far as if it's transaction coordination, or if it's, running and, putting signs in the yard, or all of it, it just depends. I've seen it all over the board.
Yep.
Some people can handle everything on their own, and then it gets to the point where they realize that, holy, it's been kind of been my experience too, just in my job too. I get to a point where I'm like, I'm really busy.
You need an assistant. She needs like a layer, a domino layer of assistants, yeah.
Taking on a lot,
Which
right?
is all of us, but yeah.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about this is that we have someone that hired from the beginning based on knowing her personal skills and knowing her personal needs and what needs to complement those to make her business go round. And then we've got somebody who was a wild success on her own and then decided there's some things that I want to bring in to my team to create to be able to grow. So again, two totally different perspectives with that. We know kind of that yours was a natural obtaining of a partner there. Sonia, you have been through a journey, and I know that because I've been down the hall from Sonia since day one. So she's had some part-time people, she's had some mentees helping, she's hired agents individually at the office to do things. She's hired partners to be buyer's agent referrals. She's had a part-time assistant, a full-time assistant, and now a full-time team member. So if you would, I know that was a lot, but if you would just sort of talk about that evolution and how you decided on the person you needed at that time in your career.
Right, and that speaks to analyzing where you are and what the problem is.
Yeah.
So, and some people, like Jennifer was saying, some people can handle their workload and don't need to do anything. Just because you don't have an assistant, if you're happy every day doing what you do, that, more power to you. That's not necessary that you even change that model. It's quite doable, but no matter how busy you are with transactions, you can be busier by having help to generate more. And, Buffini talks about more leads, more choice. Because if you only have just about enough transactions to pay the bills, you have to work with every one of those people. Some of them may be the jackasses that you don't want to work with. So if you have more choice, you get to pick better quality people. And so then your quality of life can improve. So there's always a way to look into growth, even if you think, oh, I can do this myself, which was, as I said, where I came from. So I have about done every one of them.
You have.
Sounds like I
She
have
really
ADD
has.
or something.
No, it
like,
doesn't.
this is-
It sounds like you're
But
growing a
At
team.
the time I did what I did with each step, it was the right thing for the moment. I had a couple of hires that were administrative assistants that were just kind of paper pushing people, like the first person do this, and then they've done it, and then it comes back, it's done. So that's one level, but that's hard for many of us because one, we don't like to delegate in the first place, right? We're all kind of control freaks. And that kind of delegation doesn't really take a whole lot off your plate because you're going to explain what has to be done. You're going to hand it over. When it comes back, you're going to check it. So potentially now you've actually done twice as much work as if you had done it in the first case.
Yeah.
So that is what I think puts a lot of people off hiring an assistant because they're like, well, I could just as quickly do it myself. So I tried that.
And nobody does it as good as me either.
Oh, of course
Yes.
not. No.
Yes.
So that was like the first stumbling blocks into having an assistant. So after that didn't work out too well. The next thing I had was a part-time assistant. A lot of you were around when Leanne worked for me. I had Leanne for 8 years and it was absolutely wonderful.
Shout out, love her.
Yes, hey Leanne. So she was licensed when I met her. She was actually licensed within Remax to become an agent. And I was going to be her mentor. So then she went off trying to do her first transaction, came back crying, I don't like this job. So I'm going to quit. And I'm like, no. What about, let's talk about it. So she decided a assistant role would work for her better. So she became my assistant. But it was part-time. It was kind of random hours. And I quickly learned that if she wasn't around like every day for at least part of the day, I couldn't give her anything that was of a timely nature. Because many of our stuff is, I found myself like, I've got this document. Do I deal with this or do I wait for her? And then I'd spend a lot of time deciding what I did with it. And eventually I'd do it myself because I wasn't sure she was going to be in. And that was, way not time efficient. So then she moved then into just project-based stuff, things that we could talk about on a Monday. I need this done by the end of the week. She'd go away and do it in her own time. And at the end of the week, it would be done. So that is a good way to start if that kind of work is where the bottleneck is. In our Buffini world, we've got Popeyes we need to put together, we've got mailings need to go out. Those kind of things is what I call a project. And I can delegate that to an assistant. They can go to the Dollar Tree, buy the things, put them together. I used to make up one model because I'm still very controlling. This is how it needs to look. And then I'd come back on Friday and here's 20 of them made up, you know. I don't do that anymore. I go, that's a good idea, and then it's there. But anyway, we've grown. So that was how I worked with that kind of help, and that was helpful at the time. And for the whole time that we worked together for the 8 years, that was adequate. But in that time, I also decided to transaction coordination because Leanne didn't do that. Not that she couldn't, but we never got to it. So this was an easy hire for me, and this might be where you even start if the paperwork thing is a bottleneck, because the TC that I use is by transaction pay, you know, so I do give her everything. I tried one time, well, this is an easy one, I'll do it myself. Oh my God, big mistake. So no, she gets every one of them. But if I got to a point where I didn't want to expend that money, I could choose not to give her a file. And many transaction coordinators work that way. So if you are worried about the investment up front, you want to see how this works, so you're not really committing there. If you can find someone that's just taking on new clients. So I know some of you have assistants that are your transaction coordinators, but a lot of transaction coordinators have their own company and they just run it, that's their business. So my TC works with about 7 or 8 agents, which is phenomenal for me because she gets 7 or 8 times more experience doing anything that I do. And so I can go to her with a question, this is interesting, because you know, you've always never seen this before, and she might have a solution. So that has been really great for me. And she's remote. I mean, she's not like overseas, but she's Mansfield or something. I've never actually met her face to face. I've had her as my TC for 4 years. She's an integral part of my team. We do everything through email and text, occasionally a phone call, but that's usually just to complain about something to each other. But you know, that has been a really good move for me. And that once I got that off my plate, you know, I said I felt like overwhelmed. And when I got Tiffany, I literally felt a weight off my shoulders. I've never actually really thought that was a thing, but I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. And I didn't really realize the pressure of that part of the job until I got rid of it. And again, it comes with the benefit of being really quite compartmentalized.
Well, what I like about that is you sort of tested a few different methods, and then for your particular business, it was at a phase of growth where she could actually support at that time the part-time administrative help, but then this person that was business-based. So you're not paying a transaction coordinator unless they've got a transaction, which means you've got the business, which means they're paid. So I like that she was able to compartmentalize that, and sort of where you were in your phase with Leanne is where you girls are right now, figuring out your strengths and weaknesses. How did you two decide what tasks you were going to start with? Did you just say, I'm not good at paperwork?
Well, I'll start and then we can. So what I think happened is I knew I needed some help with, oh dear Lord, this is the date, this has to be done. Do not let me forget, you know, that kind of stuff. Because I was a baby, I'm just dealing with this. Plus I'm in the middle of moving, all this crazy stuff is happening. She took it upon herself, thank God, to join every TC group there was, go to training, do all the, I didn't even know she was doing this in the background. She's like, well, if I'm gonna be a transaction coordinator, I'm gonna be great.
You're gonna be great at it. Yes.
And I'm going to get me through the day. So we kind of started, her duties started out very minimal because we didn't know anything. And it was a need like emergency every minute
Yep.
basis. And then she just matured as a transaction coordinator. I matured as an agent,
Yep.
learning what I truly needed her for or not. And she's very intuitive. So a lot of the times I'll say, oh crap, I didn't do this or that. And she'll be like, already did it and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, thank God. So those are the kinds of things that it kind of grew together. Now, because I said to her, hey, you're really good at this. Maybe you should take on some other people. And she was like, no, I don't really want to. So for me, I just said, all right, for every transaction I have, unless the client just says, no, I'm not. And I have it differently where my client reimburses for that fee because I don't want to have that extra. I just was trying to be very frugal and
Oh, that's
you
good.
know,
Jog her
deal
up.
with that. And Miss Johnny, shout out in the back. I called her and said, hey, I know you know everything. Do you think that you could tell me what a person does when they have a transaction coordinator? How they pay them and how that person gets paid, where I can pass that expense on to the client, you know, being in the business world, I'm thinking, you need this stuff, you don't even know you need it, but you need to pay for that also. I do not need to pay for it. And so she helped me kind of craft like an idea, and then I went in there and made my buyer's rep agreement and my listing agreements reflect that that transaction coordinator fee was going to be on there.
I love
So it
that.
probably went into the wrong segment right there, just slipping in something extra, but that's kind of how we had to grow. And I didn't want her to suffer.
Hey, she's putting it in Sky Slope, so if it does
Yeah.
get kicked out, you'll know.
Right. Exactly. But the funny thing is like, we just kind of grew together. Like I needed more and she could deliver more. And then, you know, things kind of went down the toilet, not necessarily toilet, but you know how we started having that big slowdown.
Yes.
Well, I was really trying very hard to make sure every transaction was paying the fee so she could survive also and I could still be something valuable that she would put time into.
Yeah.
Even though she's my best friend, she still has a lot. So
Yes, but
and
you're
she
looking
still
out
does
for,
it.
you're looking out for each other. And
Yeah.
I love the different approaches here too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just fantastic. I think you were about a comment too.
Yes.
Oh, no, I said I would still do it.
Yes,
No,
you would.
She would,
Yes.
she would do it. She
And one important thing that you said is that you did phone a friend, which
Yes.
is Johnny at
Yes.
the office. And I do want everybody listening to know that Jennifer, Johnny, and all three business development girls, myself, Roosevelt, and Tuesday, keep our ears to the ground about this topic. So if you are considering hiring, we'll get to that at the end, we can help you find what you need. We may not have 18 people you can interview, but we can help you dig one up. Depending on what particular needs you have at that time. So I do appreciate you doing that and recognizing that you wanted to support her and that you wanted to make sure that you were doing it the right way. I think that's fantastic. Jen, you're still on board. Everything, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Absolutely. I love
So-
it. Absolutely love it.
And you guys have already touched on this a little bit about creating a job description. Yours formed naturally. So you kind of are going as a need by need basis. If something happens, you're calling her and saying, Mayday, I need help.
Mhm.
For you, yours has evolved to, I need support because I want to be an agent that has support, to now I need a transactional person on top of this administrative support. At what point, and did you ever create a job description?
So the one time I really did that kind of the formal way, I guess, was when I had Jennifer.
Okay,
And so when I needed more time from Leanne and she didn't want to give more time, which was fine. So we agreed that it was the end of the road for us. And so I was going to hire. So her last 6 months with me, she started documenting everything that she did. And that from that, we created the job description for the position that was coming up. And I got information from my networking, mostly with Buffini, in terms of the contracts and the job descriptions, the way other people had done it. Because now I'm really moving into team mode, because along with having Jennifer, I had Kendra as my buyer's agent. That was another big step. So now I'm really like I'm a real team, you know. So it was a lot more formal, the process that we did for defining Jennifer's role, but it really came out of what Leanne did, and then things that I looked at as being, well, what I'd like to give to her if I could. And so that's kind of how it came out.
What about you, Jen? What do you see for that? Do people sit there and put together a formal typed job description and sort of go that way? Or is it usually typically more organic, sort of like the girls are doing, or what do you see?
Yeah, and I think it just depends on just from observation over the years. It's just whatever the agent identifies what they need in their business, because each team is going to function differently. I've witnessed, massive, large teams, and then I've seen, like 1 or 2 to 3 people teams, whatever, and they're all different. So it's kind of hard to put, this is what the job description looks like. This is what everybody's supposed to do as an assistant. That's not it. Because, just like you guys, you had a certain need for what you needed to get started, and same thing with Sonia. And so everybody's got a different job description. And I think probably once you start creating that, once you hire somebody, it's going to evolve over time. So more and more things are going to be a necessity for the team lead. because you want to build a team, just like Sonia said, she wants to go on vacation.
Yes.
So there's, you want to build this job description, and hire people that can take care of that stuff before so you can go on vacation. So, it is, again, I'm just gonna say it's different for each team,
Mhm.
based on how many people you bring on, and different roles. So you're gonna have different job descriptions, and it's just gonna keep building and building the larger that you get.
Yeah, and I will say too, just a little point on that is, to Jennifer's point, I've seen a lot of different structures. There's an ebb and flow to our business where sometimes you're busier than others. So transparency upfront with what you're looking for is key to retaining that person. Sort of like Cindy said, she nailed it when she said, I want to always be valuable to her so that she continues to put in effort to me. I have seen some partnerships that don't work because somebody says, I need you, I'm always gonna need you, I'm gonna need you about this many hours a week, you're gonna make about this much money a week, and then their business dips. And so they're unable to continue that with that person. That person, of course, has a life, has bills, has commitments. They've got to go on about their way. So I think the transparency up front is really important. I do think that there's a lot of agents in the business who, on the flip side, look to get in and out of transaction coordinating when their business slows down as well. So you've got the team lead side or the busy agent occasionally looking for help. And then you've got the moderately busy agent who's trying to become that busy agent and support themselves along their journey. And so we've got some of those people too, that are more looking for temporary support while they build their own business. So there's somebody for everybody, I guess, is the point, that I'm trying to make. And then sort of a conversation that's a little bit usually confidential, but I do want to touch on it, is pay. How did you determine how much to pay someone? And you guys have different people in your lives. So either one of you can start, and Jen, if you have any feedback on this at all whatsoever, but money. Let's talk.
Well, when I first talked to Johnny, I was blessed because I had already when we were talking about it, I was like, I'm gonna figure out what to do about that. So of course I called Johnny, and then I was calling other people that I knew from
Yes.
class and different things. I was like, hey, just give me the lowdown. What do you pay your transaction coordinator and what do they do?
And what did you find?
Well, I found that it was anywhere from $250 to $500 a transaction. And do you mind if I tell him?
No.
Okay, Johnny knows. Johnny knows everything. He already knows. So I pay her $350 per transaction, or I should say the clients pay that. And sometimes I'll have a client, and I have to say, I have to defend her at times, and she has to defend me. Because at times I'll get a buyer's agent or someone a buyer that will say, oh, what's that transaction? I said, this is your best friend right here, this girl.
I'm loaning you my best friend,
Yeah,
actually.
you're going to, yeah, exactly. I was like, don't get too comfortable. But she will answer questions even if I can't. You can call her and, all these things. And I have to just say this. Vanessa's husband is a physician. She doesn't need this job. She has a great life herself, but she did this out of the kindness of her heart for me. And I'm so thankful she came. But, we just continued to do it because I needed it. And we just had this great, flow. But as far as the pay, I really wanted to be as much as possible, but no flack from the clients.
Mhm.
Because, we're dealing with that. So
I love that.
there we go.
Tonya, you've had lots of different roles, so.
Right, well, so my TC, she's her own company. When I actually first met her, she was working for a large team at Keller Williams, and then she also did her own extra stuff. I don't know how that worked within their world, but she was able to work for a few other agents at the same time. And at that time, she was charging $250. When I started using her, I realized she was phenomenal. I mean, I've had other people help me with transactions, but she was like off the charts amazing. So at the end of the year, I bonused her up to $350 for a transaction. I look back to see what I would have paid because I thought $350 was definitely, even 4 years ago, was what she was worth.
Market price, yeah.
I made sure that if she was going to cut back, she didn't cut me off. So that was really where I wanted to go.
You want it to be valuable. I love it.
Yes.
Yes.
So then the next year, then she quit with the group and she had enough momentum to start her own transaction coordination business, which was, kudos to her. And then she put her prices up. So then she raised it to 300. So that year I bonused it to 350 again. Now I'm paying 350. So I'm not sure Christmas what we're going to do there, but she's the.
You gotta send her a wreath.
Kind of what. She might get the message, or message me, girl. So anyway, yeah, I'm paying I'm paying $350 now. It's where I'm at.
You're gonna send her other agents from our company. How about that? You're gonna send her a referral.
Well, yeah, sure. Oh, and Jennifer, Jennifer's 1099 hourly paid. And I don't want to tell you what I pay her, if that's
Yeah, you
okay.
definitely don't.
But when she came to me, she had a real job, and she was earning real money with real benefits. And so I was scared to death that I was, gonna make, have to pay, I don't know, I'm like, I can't pay you what you're earning. So I had to figure out an amount that was good enough that she saw benefit in taking on the role with me, and she can talk to why she made that switch, but there was a lot of personal benefit. But it really stretched me financially. And I have to say, I did consider splitting her with another agent because I didn't think I could go to where I needed to. And then I had second thoughts, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna go for it. Because I could see down the road that I would probably want her all of her back after a while, which wouldn't have really been fair. So I just took the leap of faith. And
Well, and you guys just clicked. I watched that whole thing roll down. You
Yeah.
weren't sure exactly how it was gonna go. You interviewed multiple people. I will say that. She waited until she found the right fit. She wasn't desperate to a point where she had to have somebody on her team, which I think is really important in finding the right person. And I do want to go to you girls here in 1 second, but one thing I missed touching on is, can you define what your TC does?
Yes, when I get a contract, an executed contract, I email it to her. And then I may not do anything. Next thing I do, I might accept the appointment to go to closing. In a perfect world. So literally, she can take care of everything.
Does she
Now,
communicate?
Every single thing. Her
Okay.
communication is stellar. Everything is email unless I happen to engage in text, which I don't really like to do as much, but she does everything in email, and I get copied on everything. I see the whole chain of everything. She is the nicest person. If you want to do a transaction with me and I get upset and angry, you don't want to hear from me. But I will tell her what the situation is, and she will write it still nice, that you're still happy. And so she does everything.
Is that similar to yours?
Probably a little different,
Okay.
because remember at the beginning, she knew nothing and I barely knew my name.
Yep.
That day, but we kind of got more, professional as we met, Tracy. Really did.
I know.
But so like with her, I'll get the contract, or even at the beginning, I'm like, oh, hey, guess what? Maybe have a listing of these people. Because we talk all the time, so I'll sometimes just send her an email saying, this is the current status of what's happening. Then when we get the executed, I just start CCing her and everything, and I start telling the people right from the get-go that, hey, this person here CC, please keep responding. That's one of the biggest things we have, is to CC the TC and everything.
Right.
But her roles, her responsibilities and roles and things that she helped me with totally grew. Now I get an executed contract, or way before, she's on point. She's ready to do this, that, telling me, and I have so much less stress. So a lot of times I just say, oh yeah, we're closing. Wonderful. That was fast. And I don't have the stress of it. I will touch on one thing that I do think is important to say, and I bet you probably agree. When I was going through this and I was talking to my other people to ask them, how's your experience with transaction coordinators or assistants been? A couple of them, the older agents that had TCs for a while, said, make sure you don't get a TC that runs you.
Mm.
And I wanted to make sure I said that to everyone, because that was part of the reason that I really felt very strongly like, oh Lord, Vanessa, you gotta help me, because I'm
You're like,
such a
can you
big,
run me?
yeah, can you run me all you want, yes. Run me everywhere. And so, but I didn't want a TC to run me because I didn't know enough I would be like, okay, do it. But I didn't want to be on someone's schedule and lose the wonderfulness of the certain points of our job that are great, our freedom, our flexibility, and our ability to make our own schedules and kind of like plan out our things.
Right.
So some of the other coordinators that I talked to, they were so savvy and so amazing and so wonderful. I was like, oh yikes, they're so great. And I felt like okay, I've got to please the transaction coordinator now. Like if that would be my mode, I was like, no. I need to work on my business. My transaction coordinator is my support. And really, she does a lot, but that was a good advice for me to
Yes.
take. But maybe other people, they want them to handle every last shred of it. But for me, I couldn't quite not be a control freak, but also I didn't want to be so easy on myself that I lost the edge and the experience I needed in the transactions, like in the heat of it.
We were in a different phase of growth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that goes back to what Sonia said about sometimes you have to teach someone to teach you, and sometimes it works for the best, and sometimes you're continuously doing that. For you guys, your partnership has stuck, which has been a beautiful thing.
Well,
So
it worked too with that part because we were really graceful with each other. Like if I messed up or she messed up, which she probably didn't mess up at all, not even one time in
Yep.
like 2 years, I repeatedly messed up. But with that particular mode of doing it, great. With if I had already been doing this for a long time and I picked a coordinator, might be different, still probably Vanessa, but maybe Vanessa 2.0 already knowing stuff. But it just worked for us the way we did it.
and Jeannie is asking, is that similar process for listings, the process that you guys just described when you get an executed contract? I know that on the buy side, you execute that contract and you send it. You've talked about how you write it into your listing description. Do they do anything different on the listing side ahead of the house being listed, or is it all upon execution of contract?
Execution of contract.
Okay,
No,
okay.
Mine's too. And I will say my TC's license, you probably picked up on that because I told you she did everything, but some transaction coordinators are, they can do a certain amount without them being licensed, but she is licensed, and so that's
Janine,
good.
Do your TCs, they negotiate repairs during the auction?
So if
you step in and do that part?
Yeah.
and if you can't hear on the Zoom, Janine just asked about inspection negotiation.
Part of you making that face, like.
My broker's in the room.
Oh, no, mine is. Don't look. Don't listen.
Let's finish the panel then we'll.
Yeah, so.
Here.
Well, can I-
Jennifer, hold on, guys. Jennifer wants to take this one. Jen, go ahead.
Tracy, leave the room.
Yeah.
So as far as being a TC, I was actually a TC for,
Yeah.
I was with Remax.
Yeah.
I was with Remax before I went to another place, and then I came home 7 years ago.
She was in the red Kool-Aid for a minute.
I never drank it, never drank it. Nope, nope. So anyway.
She was the one making it.
Right. Exactly. So prior to me going to the Kool-Aid, I was hired in because, of course I was licensed. I sold real estate, but then my kids were little. I was telling Isabel this. My kids were little, so I kind of had to back off the real estate for a little bit to be able to take care of them. And got the opportunity to be a transaction coordinator for our entire office. Back then, that's when HUDs were taking over the market. Yeah. So we had a HUD account. And so basically, of course, this is a little bit different situation, but in our office, our buyer's agents, of course, our broker listed them, our buyer's agents had brought the buyers. So they were required to use a transaction coordinator for all of their deals in our office. And that was me. So I learned a lot about HUD contracts back then. At one point,
You're a key slinger.
yeah, at one point I was working 22 contracts at once because I figured I'd just stop and go, okay, I'm really, really busy here. So I started counting what I was doing. But basically the way that it was set up there was they, upon execution of contract, I took over, like the clients thought I was their agent through the whole, and I did negotiate repairs back then. That was a long time ago. So, but I did from start to
So
finish.
she said she did, but it was a long time ago.
I did. I negotiated repairs, with the client and all that kind of stuff. So I did basically from start to finish. But the agent was the one who, through the closing piece, I was paid $250 per transaction.
But that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was.
She's worth way more.
Just on that repair thing, I mean, I'm never not involved. I don't want you to think that, you know, when I joked about not touching it till closing, that's, you know, that's one that doesn't have anything to be touched. But,
Well,
but I will say
Yeah.
that the advantage of my gal who sees a lot of different contracts, then what, you know, sometimes you get those repair amendments that are like 3 pages. And you go, holy cow, it's gonna take me like hours to dig through this. Those are the ones where she really shines because she's like coding, you know, Unreal, you know. Yes, we probably can do this, but we could do this, you know, and because she has so much experience on it, she can knock that out and then she'll let me know. I'm thinking this, and this. I'm like, yeah, let's see if we can get that, you know, so that's the way that she helps me on.
Can I just say this since we're recording?
Yeah, and it's a Tracy, yeah.
Because they have a license.
Yeah.
They can write it. They can go and sift it, bring it to you for your approval. The key is that you have to be the one that says, yes, this is right, yes, this is good, because at the end of the day, it's you and me that's accountable, right?
And all.
And
that
so it's
out.
not about whether or not they can be involved in the repair process. The bottom line is, if they have a license, they can prepare documents, right? They can get them signed for them, all of those things. But if you have a contract to close, transaction coordinator, whatever you want to call them, if you have one that is unlicensed, there is a different set of rules than there is for those who are licensed. And so there is a greater depth and activity that they can participate in if they hold a license. What they cannot do is represent this brokerage and their client, right? So what we have to be careful of is that when we use a licensed person, that we are still in control of the transaction. They work for you, not for the client, right? We've got to keep that layer to keep our E&O and truly transparency of who is representing the client. So, and I do know Sonia, and I know that she is worry-free, right? She's worry-free. But I also know that she knows exactly what's happening with her transaction. I'm certain that those are probably getting sifted. And then she says, here, Sonia, these are the things I think are important. And Sonia says, oh, I think they're important too.
Yes.
And then they
And that's
prepare
all
the.
documented on email.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear
Yes.
about licensed and unlicensed assistants, what they can do and what they can't do. So if you are considering hiring a licensed assistant, if you are considering a transaction coordinator and you're not crystal clear on what they can and cannot do, please consult with business development, myself, Anthony or Scott.
Yes, we've got lists and so is Trek, actually, so
Yes,
it's not just Tracy.
It's not.
Tracy's here to support you, so you don't get in trouble and she don't get in trouble. Okay, so I wanna hear from the girls too a little bit, if we can move over there to that direction. If there's anything you guys wanna say as well, you're still welcome to, but I wanna know what attracted you to this. Vanessa, Jennifer?
All right, well, I'll go first. What attracted me to it was I came from a real job. I was a safety manager for a transportation department for Northwest ISD. And COVID hit and we were working 12 hours a day, all management was. And I lost my brother and I said to myself, what are you doing? Like, why are you wasting your time? Not really wasting my time, but putting so much time into your career that you're missing out on being with your family.
Yeah.
So I have 2 older daughters that one lives out of state and one lives here in Fort Worth. And I was a single mom for 7 years when they were little. So I missed out on a lot of that. And I wanted to be present in my teenager's life so that she didn't look back and say, well, mom wasn't here to do this, this, and this. And now I do it all because I have the flexibility. I go to basketball, I don't know, the other night she went to her first high school party and my husband and I kind of chaperoned and hung out in the parking lot and.
She makes the mom like you've never seen. This
Yeah,
girl can
so,
mom it up.
I'm very overly protective of my girls, so that was very important to me. Like, my daughter was getting off of a bus at the transportation department and sitting in my office for 2 hours waiting for me to get off of work. And so I had to like do some internal, like, what do I want from life? And so that's what attracted me to it when I went to meet with her, that I could possibly change my life by changing my career.
And you have, and we're gonna touch on that, because your little butterfly transformation is freaking amazing, amazing. What about you? What attracted you to this? Because you guys were already friends and you could have been friends whether or not you helped her or not.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Yeah.
Already friends.
I had managed a medical facility for over 20 years, and then just some life changes happened, and I was deciding what did I want to do next. And the same thing with Cindy, she was in that, what do I want to do next? And so we were kind of going through changes at the same time. And she went into real estate and I did something else. And then she, we're best friends, so we talk every day. And then she was just learning the business and just going through a lot emotionally in her personal life. And so I was trying to be super supportive, and I'm like, well, what can I do to help you? And so just started trying to help where I could. And then we talked about the TC aspect of it just as part-time. So I took some online classes. I talked to some people in title companies, local title companies that had a lot of information about TC programs. Took some classes and then just started helping, and learning, and then just trying to be supportive for her. And it's just worked out great when we're still best friends, so.
So you identified that, but what keeps you in the role?
Yeah, yeah.
Cause you could have left.
I'm better now.
Yeah, and you could still be friends, and you
Yeah.
could say, girl, this
Yeah.
isn't for me.
But
What about it keeps you?
I enjoy it. I get
Crazy amount of money you make.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm.
That's it. And I do enjoy it because I did work with the public for over 20 years. And then it just that comes naturally. And when you manage a medical facility, one of the things that I don't think people realize is when you're managing that facility, one of your main goals is to protect the physicians in the facility. Everybody thinks it's about the patients, and it is, but you also have to be protective of your physicians and look out for them and make sure that, they're in the clear. And so I feel very protected with Cindy in that way. And I make sure that the clients, buyers, sellers are being taken care of, answering their questions. But at the end of the day, in my heart, I'm making sure she's okay. I'm protecting her, making sure if there's anything in that contract that doesn't look perfect, I call and I'm like, hey, go look at this paragraph. Do you think that's okay? What do you think about that? So it's just being protective of her. And I think that's probably will always keep me doing it as long as she needs me.
You guys are that statement, we rise by lifting others. You guys are that. It's so cute and so sweet, and I love it. And I can't wait to see you guys 5 years from now, just taking over the whole world. Why do you stay in the job? You could have left, you could have gone,
I
and
could have.
you've had people at our company say, Jennifer, Sonia, can I borrow Jennifer?
Yes.
Why do you stay?
I stay, like I said, because of the flexibility. I like to go to Michigan and see my daughter and my grandchildren every summer, and this allows me to do that. Whereas before I only had a week off, well, 2 weeks off, but I had to figure out when I was gonna do that because of the job. Now I can say, can I go to Michigan in June for 2 weeks? And she says, sure, cause I'm gonna have my computer with me, and whatever she needs, I can help her do that. But that's very important to me. Like I said, I want to spend more time with my family.
I love that. And then both of you came from managing others and also using your administrative skill sets. What of your skills do you find most important in your current role? What do you think you need to do your job?
Well, to stay on task, to take control, and when I first started in the position, I was okay. Do this, do that. I was being told what to do. Now I just take a project and I get it done. So that I learned a lot of that by being a manager, giving projects and having to get them done at a certain time. So I can do that. Obviously computer skills, you need a lot of that. You're on the computer a lot, doing a lot of things. Time management.
Wait, computer skills, is it something that's required walking in? Or is this something that you've been able to learn?
I had it coming in. There were some things I wasn't proficient at because I was doing different things at my previous job. But now, I need to learn Sky Slope and MLS, so I took classes to learn those and.
Same for you? You had administrative computer skills and stuff, but didn't you learn proprietary real estate ones?
Correct.
Okay, and what else? Cause I know one thing that you both have touched on without even touching on it, if you guys have noticed, is they're both proactive. Neither one of them are sitting around waiting for their person to say, can you help me with this? They both have come to their person and said, after they've learned their skills and they've been trained up, they've turned into that proactive role.
Yes.
Is there any other things that you think are good quality?
I think attention to detail.
Okay,
You can catch a lot. If you, I mean, I go line through line through line on each contract to make sure that, if there's anything missing or anything doesn't, the dates don't match or anything at all, then I can bring it to her attention and then she gets to decide, is this something that, she needs to go and have corrected, or is this something that will be fine? But attention to detail for sure is something that I think is important.
yep,
I was gonna say, just to add on something.
yes.
It was a little while before I knew how to do it. But then when I did decide to do it, it was a little while before I added her to the team on Sky Slope.
Yes,
Because she needed to learn, she didn't have the benefit of being an agent prior, and so she needed to actually see the contracts. And I'm sure knowing her, she probably went to special classes just to figure it out, but so she couldn't really go into Sky Slope at that point yet, or like Breeze. But one thing prior to execute a contract that I think she's helped me with listings is kind of herding the cats. Seller's disclosures, guys, come on, we can do it. Real supportive cheerleader there. And then other things like scheduling the photography and different things like that she doesn't really have to do, but definitely helped.
well, you do that in your role too. She gets super busy and gets 85 things going on, and I've heard you saying, hey, these are the things that I'm in the middle of, and here's what I need your input on for me to continue to be succcessful with my job.
And
So
I can send her mean texts and say,
Terrible.
this is the third time.
And you know what? When you get that text from her, you go,
I'm like,
yeah.
Well, and this is really interesting because Jennifer, you're licensed and you do some real estate for friends and family. But your passion and your strength has guided you into a role where you're directing operations for this entire company with a background of having small roles and big roles as administrative assistants, transaction coordinator, buyer's agent, yada, yada. So what skills do you think are needed and what do you see as the most successful partnership attribute wise?
So as far as skills, it's, they don't necessarily, just within your situation, everybody can learn. You want to be with somebody that is, has a mindset of learning based. Because you're never going to work the same day twice in real estate, and it's an acquired taste too. So hopefully somebody that loves the real estate world, but to me, it's, bringing on somebody that, as a team lead and it doesn't matter what supportive role you're in, whether it's management, whether it's an assistant or whatever, it all kind of has the same role, because I support Scott and Tracy. So with me, I come in, and it doesn't matter if it's, working for a team or whatever, but just, take Scott and Tracy, for instance, they brought me in and you want somebody that you have a vision, you have a team, you have your own vision of what you want it to look like. You need to bring somebody that matches your vision, that is on board with your vision of what the end result's going to look like, and the evolving result's going to look like. So having that supportive person in regardless of whatever role that looks like, but it's just, I think, honestly, on a broad spectrum, and, it's not really necessarily saying, okay, computer skills, this skills. I think communication is crucial to me.
Yeah.
If I couldn't function without good communication with, Scott or Tracy. I could pick up the phone and call either one of them if something bothering me, if I need some help with something, if I've made a mistake on something, I'll be like, hey, I need your help. Or just, just talking through whatever, whether it's personal, whether it's, business related. But having that open communication and knowing everything that you need to know what's going on, to keep functioning properly. So communication, having someone is going to help you build your vision and sees your vision and supports your vision and not doesn't try to, like you said, come in and,
Run you.
take you over.
Yeah.
Because I'm not about to come in and say, hey, Tracy, this is how you need to do this, or whatever.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Well,
Sometimes you need that, but that's another attribute is knowing when to do that as a person, they're,
Right.
I guess my point in saying that in the beginning is the reason that Jennifer's so good at what she does is because she herself has been able to identify her strengths and she knows where she stands in that. She's able to be a better support to her person because of that, because of the fact that she can say, hey, I got this, and Tracy knows she got this, or whatever.
yeah, I'm a very systematic person.
That's what I was gonna say.
So, okay.
I was gonna say, you were
Okay.
very systematic. which
So,
makes
I
sense,
mean, just as long as I've been doing this, I can't believe it's been since 03, but, okay. we
She
won't
was
say
in the womb.
But,
3 in 03.
I've just figured out I'm very, very structured, very systematic, so I can come into whatever situation, office, and then basically I did this with Remax Cross Country 7 years ago, coming in and taking the spot of a 12-year manager that had been there that long. So I felt like I had really big shoes to fill, but coming in and initially, I mean, and right away, taking systems that were being done super manually there and automating them, making them easier, working smarter, not harder. And I really feel like that over time that we've done that, I felt like that's one of my strengths is being very systematic in making something run efficiently. So probably somebody with that kind of a mindset coming in even as an assistant to work behind the scenes for you.
You're good at looking at the big picture. Sometimes I'll walk over and be like, oh my God, whatever. And
Oh.
she's good at being like, here's the small thing in there that you can address to fix that and solve the problem. So you can also look at the big picture. So we know proactive, systematic to the point where it works well with your person, somebody who's open and growth minded. So I do think that's important because I think sometimes people are trying to put out a job description. I need somebody that knows Excel and I need somebody that knows top producer database or whatever, but if it's somebody that's willing to grow and learn with your team, it could actually be a better long-term partnership than anything else.
Can I just speak to that? real
Please,
quick?
yeah.
Because what I see a lot of agents who are overwhelmed, they feel like they want an assistant who they can hand this to, fix this, like short-term, like instant response, instant help. And it doesn't happen like that unless, like with the TC, I employed someone who was offering professional services already trained. So yes, I had to work out how we work together and if there's any particular nuances I want to add, but that aside, it was kind of came to me as a package. But with an assistant, you typically hire them on, you need to understand there's going to be a time of learning and you can't get benefit from this person unless you pour into them. So Jennifer worked with Leanne for what, 2 months or more?
Yeah.
Before Leanne left. And so Jennifer trained her like every day. They were going through things and it was very detailed. So I didn't get any benefit. I was paying 2 people for the same job for 2 months. But then Jennifer now has been trained. And so when I hand her something and she's like, oh yeah, I've seen this before, and she gets it done. But if I had on day one wanted some return, I would have been frustrated because I wasn't getting it fast enough. And I see a lot of failed situations because it's like, it's not helping. Well, it may not be helping on day one. You have to invest for the future. And that's part of the vision. So what we have now is more of a partnership where we're brainstorming ideas together. It's been 15 months and it's been a fast and sharp learning curve, but we're at the point where I'm like, I think I might want to do this thing. Oh, okay. What, and it becomes a collaborative input of ideas, like, and then she'll go off and call the venues and figure out the pricing, and then she comes back with, okay, this, and this. I'm like, I like this one. And then, we want an invite. Well, what does it need to look like? Well, draw me something up and we'll see. Then how about this? Yeah, let's move this around and now we're done. So I'm getting huge benefit, but day one, that wouldn't have happened. And you have to give it time.
I think that's really smart. And also during that time, you were watching her to identify her strengths because she is a different human than you have on your team before.
Yeah.
And she's been able to do some personal growth and show you some strengths that maybe
Right.
your previous person didn't have.
Yeah, and I was
you didn't
asking
know.
Leanne, but
Yeah.
she was training, I was asking her, and she didn't know. how's it going? What's she doing? You know, she did good. No.
It was all
I mean,
good.
I was, that was the, you know. As a process.
I'm glad it was good.
Well, so in that regard, Vanessa and Jennifer, what is your personal experience in personal growth? Because this is both of you brand new into this industry.
Yes, it was. I was brand new. The only thing I knew about was how to buy a house and how to sell a house. I should go and tell you that I've known Sonia for 10 years now, because when we moved from Michigan to Texas, we bought a house with her. When we moved from Texas to Washington State, we sold a house with her. When we moved from, there was a couple other moves in there that she wasn't involved in, but then we moved back to Michigan, and Michigan back to Texas, and we bought a house with her. And then I started working with her, and my daughter was going to one school district, but she couldn't go there because I stopped working for that school district. So then I sold another house and bought another house, and that's what I knew how to do. I didn't know all the details.
You knew how to be the
behind-
client.
I
Yeah.
knew how to be the client. I didn't know Sky Sloan, MLS, transaction coordinator. I knew that there was a transaction coordinator involved when I was buying and selling houses, but I didn't know what they did, and now I understand what they do in more depth. I'm involved in the Buffini program, which I think is amazing. I've had a lot of like I said, I went from being told what to do to now I just take charge, and I run Monday meetings, and sometimes she'll say to me, she's the boss, you know, she's in charge. And I'm like, well, no, you are, but if you feel that way about me, that's great, because that means I'm doing a good job. So,
Your personal growth has been exceptional. I've seen you go from, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, to sitting there in the corner with Leanne, to now if Sonia's out of town, she's running down the hall, taking classes, taking notes so that Sonia knows what happened when she was out of town. And she's very, very proactive in finding new ways to fulfill her role in the team. And that is exactly what you guys are doing. What about you?
I think for me, personal growth would be being able to learn something new.
Yeah.
And especially when we were going through some of the things at the same time, it was good for us because I could be her cheerleader. And then when I was trying to learn this, she was my cheerleader. She's like, oh, you've got this, you do this, you do that. So it was just encouraging each other to become better people, but just being able to learn something new. And I like real estate. I knew very little. I mean, I've bought homes before, sold homes before, but I didn't pay attention to anything else to do in the middle. So it's been fun. It's been interesting. I get to deal with all kinds of buyers or sellers that are contacting me, and you know, it makes life interesting. So it's been good. It's been good. And then we get to spend even more time together. So.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm just gonna say, like, when you have a person, I do love the idea that you touched on about the flexibility, because from having businesses, sometimes I tend to go in and be like, okay, guys, this is our schedule, morning meeting, blah, 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 you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. But with Vanessa, I didn't want to take away, and I couldn't, because she looks all sweet, but she will get you. So I had to be more like, okay, you're doing this for me as a blessing also, but I need you to, you know, fulfill this role, but I don't want to take away that flexibility that is appealing to you.
Yeah.
And that could easily happen if you're the head honcho and you have assistants or transaction coordinators. Don't make them hate
Their
the
job.
position. Let them love the flexibility like you love it, and you'll retain your people longer. And that experience, in my experience, that is what I think also helps keep them.
Yeah, and you're not trying to put a square peg in a round hole. If the person's not happy in their job, what are you doing, you know?
Right, but you know. that
And
would
we
be-
have loyalty to each other
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I mean, if she's in a jam and I'm in the middle of nowhere at a rodeo with my granddaughter, I will walk to the highway to get reception.
This sounds like experience.
This is.
Real thing.
Just throwing that out there. 'Cause
I remember that.
I will walk to the highway to get reception to send a file that she needs right now.
I love that.
It did happen.
I love that, but you're just, you guys are two peas in a pod, you're the same way. Cindy picked up for a 20-minute chat with me when she was in the car trying to get ready for her daughter's wedding, and I kept going, girl, you can get off the phone, and she's like, but this is great, let me tell you this. So they're the same way, I mean, they really are the same way. So we're at the end of the hour, I wanna take questions, but before we go, just down the road, if there's any direct advice you have for an agent listening who's considering hiring a transaction coordinator or a contract to close or an admin assistant, or if you are that assistant role, what advice you have for somebody who's thinking, I might want to do that?
Take the leap, because I didn't think I could do it, and now I love what I do, and I tell my family I love what I do. I tell my friends, my best friends, that used to have a job that I hate, and now I have a job that I love. So just take the leap and believe in yourself, and that's what I would, best advice I can give, because that's what I'm living every day.
It's lovely.
I know how you guys are gonna follow that, because that was what we're looking for.
Yeah, what you think?
What she said.
Yeah, it's so much that hasn't been said here.
I was thinking that too.
I just, a couple of things I want to say though, which is, I joke and I say, this is the boss. I met Michelle here this morning, who's Carrie's assistant. And when Carrie came in, I just said, I just met the boss. And I said it all the time, and I kind of mean it a little bit, because as an agent, we've got all these things we need to do. And sometimes we don't do any of it, right? Because we don't have to, because we're the boss. But if you have an assistant and you set up the role, that their role is to make sure this stuff gets done and you're in the way of it, then you're going to have to do it, because otherwise they can't do their job. So it will hold you more accountable. You will get more done on the timeline because they are the boss. So I think just making that mindset shift a little differently as to why I'm doing this. Because that's what a lot of us need, more accountability, and you can create it in your own little team. So anybody that's thinking that they might need to, I would say, explore what your needs are and be clear about what it is that's causing your stress and bottleneck, and then you can figure out what the solution is. And then there was one question which you didn't get to, which was, how do you find these people? I, as a team lead, get emails, and I couldn't always tell, but I think they might just come to me from people who are looking, do you need this? Do you need this? And so ask other team leads if they are getting exposed to people that want to offer up those services. I had just one this just last week. Check in with Melanie, and it goes the other way. I ask her, who do you hear that might want ever? So she and Rosabelle and Tuesday, they may be the people that know. And then when you're in a transaction and you are an agent on one side and you are being communicated with by someone's TC and they're awesome, communicate with them. Do you take on clients? How do you run this operation? And just put the word out, because that's how it happens, to get the word out. That's not how I found Jennifer. I knew her as a client. But Buffini tells you that if you want to hire, let your database know that you're hiring, you're growing, it's good, and then ask them who they might know. So I emailed my whole database. I'm looking for a full-time assistant, hoping that someone in my database would say, oh, I have this person. And I was looking for like an entry-level work person. So Jennifer goes, I'm interested in talking to you about the job. I'm like, oh, no, I didn't want to work with a client. So I kind of kept putting her off, because
I did this behind the scenes, and then meantime, she interviewed.
I know.
She interviewed, yeah.
I feel horrible. I haven't told Jennifer yes or no yet. And I just felt awkward.
Well, you were trying to protect the relationship.
Yeah, right.
You weren't sure.
I wouldn't have been offended.
Well, and knowing you guys now, she probably would have talked you out of that. She'd been like, no, it's okay, here's why.
I was scared to death to do what I did, so, yeah.
Yeah, so it took a while, but I then decided I would talk with her. I felt like I was out of the conversation. Anyway, so you never know, honestly, you never know where they come from.
But then she came in and your eyes lit up.
Well, yeah.
You were like, I think this is gonna
I
work.
mean, God knew I needed more than what I was looking for. I was looking for a paper pusher, because I thought I would pay $8 an hour and, get the help I wanted. And, that isn't what I needed. And that would have been the wrong way to go. And I was directed to Jennifer. It was, I'm very faithful. It was a great thing. And I had a bigger leap of faith to do what I did, as I told you. but it's couldn't have found a better place than.
Yeah,
I know
I
you
agree.
don't have.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Jen, really be about.
Well, I have to follow that.
I'm sorry.
That was awesome.
Well, you've got such a
No.
unique perspective. I know
No,
it's
no, no.
very helpful because you've been the person, I mean, yeah.
Well, and I've actually, as far as like, I've never actually hired an assistant for myself. I've always been in that supportive role, pretty much throughout my entire career. But I would probably say that if you are contemplating whether to hire somebody, I mean, I'm a family person, and over the years that I've done this, it took me probably halfway through my career to figure out that, you know, my family is important. And so it's, you need to find a place where, or hire somebody that can allow you to have a personal life, allow you to be with your children. You know, what you said, that hit very close to home, because when I started selling real estate, I just, you know, the very early years, my kids were little and they were neglected because my husband's a coach, so he's gone all the time. So it was very hard. So I had to step back and kind of reevaluate what I wanted to do, but it evolved into what I do today, which I'm very, very thankful for. But going back to that, you know, if you said take the leap, hire somebody that you trust, that you can communicate with, because obviously there are wonderful relationships, working relationships, and they turn into personal relationships.
They do.
That is, you know, Tracy and I have become very, very close. And Scott and I have become very, very close over the past, you know, 7 years, if not longer or whatever. So it's very, very important. And build a team and build relationships where you can go on vacation. You know, you can trust the person. Trust is a huge, huge deal. Trust the person that you're working with, where you can step away for a week or whatever, go on vacation, and you don't have to worry about anything. You actually can relax as a real estate agent on vacation.
That is growth as an agent.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
we talked about growth
Mhm.
for them, but that in itself is growth as an agent personally. Being able
Absolutely.
to, you nailed it when you said being able to let go of certain things and.
Yeah, because life is short,
Yeah.
you know, I lost my brother too, you know, 12 years ago, and it opened your eyes a little bit. You're like, life is short, you know, you gotta have an outside world as well, but you know, inside your business, you can build this massive business, but it doesn't have to feel like a job.
Yeah.
You know, I've always said, do something every day that doesn't feel like a job. So that's what
Love it.
Okay, so to the person that was thinking about doing it, I kind of structured it on purpose to where I had the least financial, like, stress, you know, by having the clients know upfront that this is something that needed to be paid, and sorry, that's the way it is. So that is the way that I could structure that in that way. So I had no other reason to not do it, other than taking the time to train or taking the time to like have this person grow and turn into this awesome, you know, helper and slash boss, assistant, everything. It went from keep me out of jail, make sure that date gets done and I don't terribly disappoint my amazing broker. But now it's gone to, hey, you better make sure that walkthrough paper is signed because these people are cray. So that is what it's gone to. So she keeps me in line.
Can I say one thing? Since Jennifer and I have worked together for a very long time and went through the sifting process, I think a lot of times agents hire assistants because they think that person's gonna fix their life. They don't have systems, things seem very unmanageable, out of control. They're very busy, and I think oftentimes agents wait too long before they hire somebody. They don't take that leap of faith. And they're expecting this person, while they're a tornado, to come in and fix everything. Be a good boss. They are the boss, but give people room and give them the tools they need to do the job you're asking them to do. Because I've watched over the years, many agents, top producers, eat up and spit out assistants, great assistants that would have made a huge difference. Remember that the entire thing is about scale. And you only have so many hours in the day, and the only way you can grow and expand is to scale things. And so be as committed to your assistant as you're expecting your assistant to be to you. It's not a one-sided thing, and that message has gone all the way across the board today. So be all in, just like you're expecting them to be all.
That's huge.
That's true, that's true. Vanessa, did you have any last advice?
I find that, there's so many new scenarios that come up all the time. So I try to keep learning. And I learn through taking additional courses sometimes. And there's a ton of Facebook groups for transaction coordinators. And you sometimes just reading what's, somebody's posted, what they went through, some new, what happened. And it just, I try to keep that in the back of my mind. Okay, if this ever happens, we know we have to do this, and, just trying to be relevant in that way, trying to be helpful in that way. And then, of course, finding that person you can work with, because I wouldn't want to
Work with and not kill them.
Mhm.
When you have to walk to the highway for signal.
Yes.
Say, I still love you and I'll be there for Thanksgiving.
I have to give shout out to most of the title companies.
Yeah.
Because when you have someone new, like, if you have the company person that's already a transaction coordinator, they already know everything.
Yep.
When she was starting out to help me, not knowing anything either, the first couple of transactions at the title company. Wow, I was so thankful for the sweet title ladies, you don't even know, but they were so awesome to her as well. And I would say, you think I'm new? Well, guess what?
Yeah.
And I
I'm newer.
And I can reach out to a lot of the title companies that we've worked with, and they are so helpful. They want you to
As a
succeed.
resource.
They
Yes.
want you to
Yes,
close.
think about Tuesday, all the people we have in
Mhm.
our group, they really want you to succeed.
So they'll help you, like, they have helped me in the beginning especially, and I'm like, what do I do with this? And if they don't have something, they're like, hey, Vanessa, you gotta give me this. And they are
I love
very supportive. The title companies, most of them have been really great.
Yeah, well, and all of you, when you needed it, reached out for help, whether you were in the support role or the supported role, you reached out for help from somebody who has done it before,
Right.
which is, I think, vital. And that's a lesson that you've sort of developed too. Like you've gone through and had all different roles. So, which is something we didn't get to touch on, but we are at the end. And I wanted to just thank all of you for being on the panel. If there's any other questions in the room, we can take them, but otherwise you guys are fabulous. And then the last thing is that we do have lists of what it's like to be an assistant versus a non-licensed agent versus a licensed assistant, non-licensed assistant, which I think I said 3 times. So we have that list 3 times. And then you can always call and brainstorm with Jennifer, Johnny, Tracy, Scott, myself, Rosabelle, or Tuesday about what type of person might fit your needs in your role. Is it a buyer's agent? Is it hiring somebody in the office that needs help to occasionally do referrals for you? Is it having somebody that you pay $250 per contract? What does that look like? And we can help you brainstorm on that and then help you find that person. And my very last call to action would be for anybody listening that has a transaction coordinator looking for extra work, or if you're somebody that is looking to do that or anything like that, send them in to somebody at the office. We're working on creating a nice list so that you have resources so that you can call when you want different roles.
I was going to add to you, Melanie.
Yeah.
We do have resources,
Yeah.
so please reach out to us. I actually connected Carrie and Michelle, and I think that is going really, really well.
Yeah.
So we've got everything to help you guys grow, so please reach out to us.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, anything else, girls? You good? Tracy, you good?
I'm good. I think this was sensational.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for coming to the panel.
Yes, thank you.
Did I make it from the official team?